Welcome to Sports Live Media. It's your main man, Sports Live, here with tonight's broadcast. Tonight, we will continue the second part of our Road to the National Championship, Part 2. This is going to be the men's version for Division One college basketball. Before I get into that, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, and please hit the notification bell so you can be made aware of when I have a live broadcast or when I have new sports action videos that go up. So without further ado, let's get into this, shall we? The road to the national championship will be ending tomorrow. The two teams that have made it to the national championship game for Division One men's college basketball are San Diego State and UConn, or known as the University of Connecticut. So, since they're going to the national championship game, we're going to continue this series and basically mention the road to the national championship, each team, who they played, what their result was, and where it led to. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, we'll start with San Diego State. They played Cal State Fullerton on November 7th, won that game 80-57. On November 11th of this season, they played Brigham Young University, or BYU, and won that game 82-75. Stanford, they played on November 15th and won the game 74-62. On November 21st, they played Ohio State and won that game 88-77. On November 22nd, they played, at the time, number 14 ranked Arizona, lost the game 87-70. On November 23rd, they played, at the time, number 9 Arkansas, and lost that game 78-74. November 29th, they played the University of California in Irvine, won that game 72-69. On December 2nd, San Diego State played Occidental and won that game 95-57. On December 5th, San Diego State played Troy and won that game 60-55. On December 10th, they played St. Mary's, lost that game 68-61. December 12th, they played Kennesaw State and won that game 88-54. December 20th, they played the University of California in San Diego and won that game 62-46. December 28th, they played Air Force and won the game 71-55. On New Year's Eve, they played the University of Northern Las Vegas, or UNLV, and won that game 76-67. On January 7th, they played Wyoming and won that game 80-75. On January 10th, they played Nevada and won the game 79-65. On January 14th, they played New Mexico. They lost that game 76-67. On January 18th, they played Colorado State and won the game 82-76 in overtime. January 21st, they played Air Force, won that game 70-60. January 25th, they played Utah State, won the game 85-75. On January 31st, they played Nevada, lost that game 75-66. February 3rd, they played Boise State and won that game 72-52. On February 8th, they played Utah State and won that game 63-61. On February 11th, they played the University of Northern Las Vegas, or UNLV, won that game 82-71. On February 15th, they played Fresno State, won that game 45-43. On February 21st, they won over Colorado State 77-58. On February 25th, they played New Mexico, won that game 73-71. On February 28th, they played Boise State and lost that game 66-60. On March 4th, to finish out the regular season, they played Wyoming and won that game 67-50. From March 9th through 11th was the conference tournament championship. And on March 9th, they played Colorado State, won that game 64-61. March 10th, they played San Jose State, won that game 64-49. On March 11th was the conference tournament championship against Utah State, and they won that game 62-57. Selection Sunday rolls around on March 12th, and they were placed as a number 5 seed in the March Madness NCAA Men's Division I basketball tournament. From there, on March 16th, they played Charleston, won that game 63-57. On March 18th, they played Furman, won that game 75-52. On March 24th, they played the University of Alabama, won that game 71-64. March 26th, they played Creighton, won that game 57-56. And they beat Florida Atlantic today, April 1st, and won that game apparently on a buzzer beater at 72-71. For the University of Connecticut, otherwise known as UConn, we'll go through the list on who they played and what their result was, just like we did with San Diego State. On November 7th, they played Stonehill, won the game 85-54. On November 11th, they played Boston University, won 86-57. November 15th, they played Buffalo. They won the game 84-64. On November 18th, they played the University of North Carolina in Wilmington and won that game 86-50. November 20th, they played Delaware State, won that game 95-60. November 24th, they played Oregon and won that game 83-59. On November 25th, they played the University of Alabama, and at the time, Alabama was ranked number 18 in the country, and they beat them 82-67 for the win. On November 27th, they played Iowa State, won that game 71-53. On December 1st, they played Oklahoma State and won that game 74-64. December 7th, they played Florida and won that game 75-54. On December 10th, they played Long Island University and won that game 114-61. December 17th, they played Butler, won that game 68-46. On December 20th, they played Georgetown. They won that game 84-73. On December 28th, they played Villanova and won that game 74-66. On December 31st, New Year's Eve, at the time, they played number 22 Xavier. They lost that game 83-73. Their next game on January 4th, they played Providence, and they lost that game 73-61. On January 7th, they played Creighton, won that game 69-60. On January 11th, they lost to, at the time, number 25 Marquette, lost the game 82-76. On January 15th, they lost to St. John's 85-74. And on January 18th, they lost to Seton Hall 67-66. They finally get out of their losing slump, or so we thought. They played Butler on January 22nd, won 86-56. Then they lost again to, at the time, number 13 Xavier, and they lost 82-79. On January 31st, they played DePaul and won that game 90-76. On February 4th, they played Georgetown and won the game 68-62. On February 7th, they played, at the time, ranked number 10 Marquette and won that game 87-72. On February 11th, they played, at the time, number 23 Creighton and lost that game 56-53. On February 18th, they played Seton Hall and won the game 64-55. On February 22nd, they played, at the time, ranked number 20 Providence, won that game 87-69. On February 25th, they played St. John's, won that game 95-86. On March 1st, they played DePaul, won that game 88-59. On March 4th, they played Villanova and won that game 71-59. Their conference tournament rolls around, and on March 9th, they played Providence and won the game 73-66. And on March 10th, they lost in the second round of whatever games they were playing in their conference tournament against number 6 Marquette and lost that game 70-68. Selection Sunday rolls around on March 12th, and they were placed as a number 4 seed in the NCAA tournament. So with that, on March 17th, they played Iona and won that game 87-63. On March 19th, they played St. Mary's, won that game 70-55. On March 23rd, they played Arkansas, won that game 88-65. On March 25th, they played Gonzaga, won that game 82-54. On April 1st, today, they played Miami and won that game 72-59. So now that we know their road to the national championship, the national championship game in Division I men's college basketball will be played April 3rd at 8 p.m. on CBS. The tip-off time will be 8:20 p.m., and the game will be played at the NRG Stadium in Houston, Texas. So there's your road to the national championships for Division I men's college basketball for the 2022-2023 basketball season. If you will, please hit the like button, please hit the subscribe button, please hit the notification bell so you can be made aware when I have a live broadcast or when I have new sports video action. I hope you all have a great night, and peace out.